Hello, hello, welcome. So yeah, last time we were working on, I guess, like, refactoring the aggregator stuff, the little bit of state management that lives with each key to track kind of what is happening this frame and what has happened last frame. I don't like it, but at least it's more isolated now. Literally last time the power went out and so my stream dropped, but I was able to kind of finish the thought that that we were working on. Namely, moving aggregator to aggregator type, and all of the changes that will reference that new package. And yeah, so that's the thing. Tests are green. I want to think about something. What did I want to think about? Oh yeah. It looks like we added the aggregator test.go in the last commit. Let's not. Because it doesn't do anything right now. Right. So look at that. And here is where we can write tests that force us to learn what this aggregator thing is doing. So ag is like aggregator dot aggregator for type. Subpress amount 7, 13, and then like aggregator dot press. If ag dot frame press amount not equal to 7, panic, fail, t dot fatal. The aggregator should report the press amount last set. I think that's what the API is supposed to be, but let's find out. Alright, so that is correct. And then if we set a different one earlier, we get that. Good. I might do this with convey instead, because I want like a base setup and then a bunch of different slight tweaks to the test. Yeah. Do I have an easy way of importing convey? I guess it's like convey aggregator API. Organize the imports, and then do that. uses last frame's press amount to initialize the current frame's press amount, right? So it's not 0, it's 7. And then if we do an aggregator set press amount, 13 times 4 aggregator press. So ag.curve press amount should equal 13. Convey the current press amount is updated is updated with aggregator set press amount. The last frame's press amount is the initial press amount for the current frame. Current press amount is updated during aggregator convey. The frame press amount is not updated during aggregator set press amount. I mean, they're both of these tests needs a press. So ag.frame press amount should still equal 7. Okay. So for the standard aggregator, the frame press amount should represent things. Yeah. Okay. And then for the wheel aggregator, it's the same. Do we get the same for the other aggregator type, the axis aggregator? No. So an axis aggregator resets. Is it supposed to? No. I don't know if it should or shouldn't. So let's not look at the code, let's look at the test. So an aggregator type, an axis aggregator, isn't that true of all aggregators? Let's say we got a key and it represents an axis, and we say, okay, your current press amount is 3, and then now set your press amount to 7. Do a think. What should your current See, this is bad. I want the failure to tell you what we're testing. It's like, why does it not do that? Should it not do that? Maybe it's only with test verbose that we get that. Huh? The last frame's press amount is the initial press amount of the current frame. Yep. Okay, this is our red test. So basic tests for aggregator. All right. For an axis aggregator, the initial press amount for the current frame is 0. Now it's kind of a jank thing to green step, just fix your test, like change your test to pass, but I think this is what I'm going to go with, because it calls out like the difference of an axis aggregator, right? Sure, makes sense to me. The spec for axis aggregator should differ for initial guess amount. Okay. The other thing I wanted to do was green CI. I think we're missing like a font file. It manifested as a deadline exceeded on UI start test.go line 127. So let's look at that. 127, right? So the start texture and the menu texture didn't load. Okay, so why is that get ignored? Okay. Oh, gobs. I don't think that should be true. Maybe you don't data runtime, but gobs, but data runtime's already gone. So, alright, so data fonts dict. These are old. These are a bit newer. What's in there by default? Dict 10, Dict 12, Dict 15. There's no there's no worry about losing these and never being able to recover them. They should be generated as needed. Okay, if I do a get clean dash f data fonts, and then I do a make test no cache dash v, I should expect to see this. Base utils 189. Yeah. That's fine. And then it makes it. So that it complained that there was no Dictionary 18 gob is not the problem. The problem was actually a deadline exceeded. Um, 250 milliseconds to load 2 textures does not seem unreasonable to me. What if we had more info here? Not just that the deadline was exceeded, but which ones are loaded and which ones aren't. And maybe how long each one took. Let's add that as a to-do. Bug 20. Add better feedback for texture manager block until loaded failures. Include the set of textures waited on. Which ones? How long did the loaded ones take to load? If include the set of textures waited on, include how long it took to successfully load the textures that did load. Yeah. So commit-m docs. It would be nice to know more about which textures did load and how long successful loads took. Alright, and then I'm going to also change getIgnore. What is this change? This is a cleanup of include generated files in the data directory for test reproducibility. Not having to generate those files might be the thing that's slowing it. Well, might be enough to make it fast enough to work. I need some coffee. But I'll be right back. So yeah, let's check on CI. See if it made a difference. Kind of looks like it did. I mean, it's probably a flaky test, right? Any test with a timeout is going to be flaky. But we'll deal with it. Alright, so now what's next? Let's look. Let's do a thing. Yeah, driver scroll wasn't working. Right? We should get this test working. So the scroll amount didn't match the expected value. We actually got 0. Well, hold on. This is gonna find any event mouse wheel vertical, including the release. If ev.type not equal to aggregator dot press continue. When we get last scroll, let's also each dot. When in doubt, log more things. So the key is a key state of mouse wheel. Which makes sense. I want to know what's in it. Make debug test is system test DLV. Oops. Let's break on driver go 112. Dot key dot aggregator. The press amount for the frame is going to be 0 because it ends at 0. It's press sum. Hold on. What is going on? So when I ask a wheel aggregator for frame press sum, it's going to defer to a base aggregator because it's, well, hold on. Can we hover for docs? So when you have an instance of wheel aggregator and you call frame press sum, it's going to use the base aggregator. So a.prev press sum. Okay. We can return it. When we say standard aggregator set press amount, wheel aggregator. What happens when we aggregator set press amount on you? It's specific to wheel aggregator, as is the think. So we need to check that. So aggregator set press amount for a wheel event, wheel aggregator. Does the standard aggregator set press amount? Okay. And it tracks a boolean. Now when it thinks, it says, okay, standard aggregator, also think, and it looks at the current press amount. This is always 0, right? I think that's something that we've learned. We shouldn't see wait what. Same if we go to haunts and make it. We did see a wait what. I guess it's because another think came through. Maybe. But long story short, current press amount wait a minute. The standard aggregator doesn't call base aggregator update or set press amount. What? Okay, the base aggregator is not an aggregator. It's just a way to embed two key stats as fields. I don't like that design. We're going to change that design later. But, long story short, when a standard aggregator is asked to set press amount, it doesn't tell the base aggregator to do anything, because the base aggregator is dumb data. Okay. Why is this here? Does removing it break tests? Why would you scale the change in sum by some linear function over time differential? Like, $161. The sum should equal 8, they're saying. That's why they're scaling by time. Because we're not guaranteed to think regularly. Okay. So the reason we do this timestamp minus whatever the last press timestamp was is to make sure that if it's been forever since we pumped a frame, the sum incorporates the pressage across that time. Okay. Accumulate as much press as there was since the last time we accumulated. Okay, so then what does that mean for our test? That means we need to be careful about what we what am I looking at? Oh, we're doing the wait what still. Wait, what? Aggregator, I think. We didn't save this file. Oh, okay. What's the message that it failed? Trying to think, can I just like do a get all the things? Get key state is a func on a gin key. And it returns, you know, maybe like a map of string to float. Right? So k dot rat at frame. Press mount. Let's just call it frame. Press mount equals k dot frame press mount. Right. And then ev key state. Amount can be sum or average or let's do this, but switch frame for current. Current press average, yeah, you don't make sense. We get press count, release count. Let's do that too. That's an int. We can make it a float. Switch frame to current globally. Yeah. Okay, let's run this and see what is in this thing. So the current is all 0. The frame press amount, frame press average, frame press sum, 0. But there's a press count and there's a release count. Does that track? That there was a press and that there was a release makes sense. That the press sum and the press average are 0 does not make sense to me. Because we should have said set press amount on it. Hold on. So key set press amount 58 for 301. What index are we hunting? Looking for 302. Index 302, press amount 0. At 5.5. Okay, so we got a mouse wheel vertical, press amount 1. And so here, it's like the current press amount let's log the key state as well. That's annoying. Very nice. Key set pres amount. $302. What? Okay, so this is the release on 304. This is the press on 304. Yes. So when we did a key set press amount equal to 1, it's printing it like a key, not like a... I want the aggregator. So key set press amount. I guess we also need the ID. The ID. Maybe I should have just used the debugger. But, eh. Okay, that's index 302. Index 302. 301, 300, 304. Press amount. The amount. Zero. 304, the amount is 1. So we came in and it's like press count, release count, press amount, press sum, press average. Everything was 0. Last press was 0. Last think was 0. So the current press amount is 0. So that's true. And that's false. True not equal false. Okay. And this is saying if the amount was 0, it was a release. Otherwise, it's a press. So this is a press. And we skip this, and we say aggregator set press amount. Last press is supposed to be 0. What is MS? We should use the debugger. This is a good thing to break on. We should set a conditional breakpoint. Is it calmed? Yeah. Okay, so let's break on keybase.go, line 365. We're going to set a condition on 1 that ks.id.index is equal to 304, right? So last press and last think are both 0. Yeah, so press. Let's step in here. Press amount is 1. Press sum is 0. Oh. We were at 0 press, so it doesn't matter that we're now pressing for the sum. Okay. Okay. The MS is the same MS. If the wheel is scrolled and the physical interaction happens all within one frame, and the previous frame is the 0 value, then we process the frame. The previous frame will have a sum of 0 because it's started not down in the frame. Well, I should say it started with no press in like the -1th frame, in like the previous frame. And then the current press amount is going to be 0 because we've already released the button. I don't think that that's wrong in the key aggregator world, but how are we going to detect scrolls? No, but like, of course we're not using it anywhere. Oh no, that's clicking the middle button. We need to search for mouse wheel. Yeah. Um, okay. Supposed to drink more water. Okay. We're not panicking anymore. um, I'm confused. We just don't have a good way of capturing the sequence of scrolls. I'll be right back.
to the early dawn.
snacks too. These chips are dangerous. They're too good. Okay. So let's use the debugger again. So there was 4 so-called native events. Oh. Hey, Plusser. The direwolf story was BS. Apparently it's just Grey Wolf DNA in some part of the sequence modified to make it look like a direwolf. And the company basically said, if an animal looks like an animal, then it's that animal. That's what we consider. So they didn't extract the DNA from some fossil. We can't have nice things. Or dire wolves. But yeah. It is what it is. Some more people looked into it and said that African dogs are more closely related to modern wolves than dire wolves are related to grey wolves. Now, when you say African dogs, do you mean like African wild dogs? I remember growing up, I liked to watch a lot of nature programs, and whenever the wild dogs came up in Africa, they always seemed OP. Like, their like hunt success rate is like over 50%. Wild dogs, yeah. Which is like, compared to like lions and cheetahs and stuff, it's like pretty good. But yeah. So if I'm a test driver and I have these events, how would I see that they are, in fact, a scroll? I would have to find the events that are labeled mouse wheel vertical for their key, or key ID. Um, hmm. We find an event that has a mouse position, has a press type, and mouse wheel vertical. I guess this is just an if, but yeah. So at some point, we saw mouse wheel. Why is this index 302? Isn't that the x-axis? What? No, it's mouse wheel vertical. Okay, okay. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to return the current press amount from this thing. But the frame press amount is 0. Okay, yeah. The frame press amount is 0 because we've already released the scroll. This is a case of the interface that we have is not one that helps us understand when scrolling happens. Mouse wheel vertical sees a press and a release at the start and at the end of like the spin. But I'm considering like what should we be doing in the wheel aggregator think. It's keybase.go. I think we should be doing what this wanted to do, which was if the frame we're processing had anything going on, if we received an event, we clear that flag and return what happened. Otherwise, nothing happened, but we do want to tell you about it. Otherwise, nothing happened. Okay, maybe the thing to do is to refactor this to read a little bit more, or a little less nested, right? So let's just rewrite it to be the same as it was. So like the amount to return, 0. We cleared the flag, amount result is actually WA curve press amount. And return result. Come on, Vim, come back. What did I do? I don't know what I did. Okay. No. Aggregator set press amount. pardon me, not aggregator, that press one. Aggregator think is all about getting called by key think. Now key think, it may return true and an amount to indicate that a fake event should be generated. My bet is that this is happening. Last press should start at 0. Last think will start at 0. This will be false on the first set press amount. That's fine. But we won't yield a hold on. So the last think, when do you get set? Key. Oh. Hello? Network hiccup? Why did it reset? Hello? What is happening? Dropping a lot of frames. Okay, I think we're back. Sorry, but yeah, like for each native event, we're like, hey, Mr. Key, for the noted event, you be done pressed. So set your press amount. So that'll call key state set press amount, which we'll call aggregator set press amount on the wheel. Last press, the first time through, last press will be 0, and last think will be 0. Here's the thing. Let's run the test under the debugger. Let's only run the test we care about, which is quick test. Restart test run test. Why retype it when I can get a computer to type it for me? Okay, that's gonna run the test I care about, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Now I want to watch this line. 119. No, not line 119. User 8. Wow. So this should be the first time through. So WA event received should be false before the assignment. WA last press should be 0. WA last think should also be 0. Because the wheel aggregator gets the 0 value at the start. Cool. 0 is not less than 0, so we don't think an event was received. What is this? Why do they care about event received? They care about event received because they only want to send this once. What if we just said this? Forget your event received logic. This will be okay. Let's run the debugger again and break on 247. Test that on that thing. Okay, so the first think is where in the actual test. Process frame called from driver go. Quick test go 53. And then the key state think happened. Okay. That was the only aggregator think called. Because we returned do we need a synthetic event for this? What the heck? Hold on. Did someone say caffeine and go? Two of my favorite things. Oh, nice. Welcome, Mongoose Studios. Yeah. Cheers. I am also a caffeine enjoyer. But I am a bad code disenjoyer. Or the code, it make sadness. Much sadness. Right now we're trying to figure out how to get mouse wheels to be testable / actually work. And we're not quite sure if they ever did work. And so we don't know how much we should change versus how much we need to change versus how much we should leave alone. But let's think about this. If I'm a wheel aggregator and I'm asked to think, I need to decide, do I want to effectively get another callback of set press amount And if so, with what amount? Okay, why would we need a callback? We're already here. We already did this. Why do we need a callback? The only reason we would want to call back is if logic like this needs to run again with new values. But we won't get another think. Also, I'm pretty sure this needs to be frame press amount, because this guy thinking sets this dot, what is it? Curve press amount. If we look for curve press amount, it's this press amount. So like this frame's press amount. But when we standard aggregator think SA dot this gets a new key stats, which is all zeros except for the press amount. Okay, so a dot this dot press amount should be non-zero when we call curve press amount there. Whoa! Why are you setting last press to this? I'm lost. So lost. What timestamp are we passing into here? I am a little bit concerned. We tell input to think based on horizon minus sys start ms, but then we just return horizon. Now this OS event timestamp is not relative to horizon minus sys start ms. It's relative to horizon. Oh, sorry. Each timestamp gets, I'm looking right at it, gets decremented by sys start ms. When who reads from this? Nobody. I'm glad we're cutting down on these, like, the space of overlapping functionality that's just called think. But, dang. I think the long and the short of it is no one's using the return value systhink. Shouldn't we be subtracting horizon from the, sorry, sys start ms from the horizon in this sysobj.think? Sorry, I need to remember to pick up my wife at a certain time. 12:30-ish. So yeah, we're gonna have a hard stop at about 12. Let me set a timer on my phone. About 20 minutes from now. Um, let's add. Uh, make note of a potential bug. Okay, so let's not worry about that right now. But basically, when we never heard of Haunts before, but you've been looking at it, is this the Haunts that was a game written in early Go? Yes, yes. This is uh, an old project. Um, so backstory: one day I was on the Reddit Golang, there's a subreddit for Golang, and I came across this thing, and it's like, does someone know what's going on with the Haunts the Mans Macabre project on GitHub? It's still stuck with no build for several years now. This was 8 years ago. This was posted. So 8 years ago, this project was already stuck, and who knows what was going on with it. Uh, but basically, it was a Kickstarter project 12 years ago um, that got funded. Um, they raised, close to 30 grand. Uh, and then things went terribly, terribly wrong. The long and the short of it is they ran out of money, and then they ran out of developers, and so they couldn't finish. But part of their shtick was that they were going to write it in Go, and they were going to release the code once they were done. So they wrote it in Go, and then they released the code, kind of as a last ditch. Sorry, here's what we did, kind of gesture. And it wasn't building for a long time. I did a little bit of work to make sure it would build, and then have been fixing bugs ever since. The original people claimed that it was about ready to go, ready to release or ready to be finished. I have not found that to be the case. But that's okay. We're using TDD to make it work again. Yeah, it is probably the best path to take in that situation. I agree. I'm glad that they stuck to their word about releasing it on GitHub and with the proper license. And maybe part of the problem is that I'm testing on Linux and, well, Linux on Windows. Just, because pain is fun, I guess. But I think they did most of their iteration on Mac. I'm gonna have to see if I can rebuild that for Mac. The last Kickstarter update says even the original author couldn't figure out how to make it build again. So that says something. Yeah. I mean, look, we've got... It builds! It runs! You can even, click the credits button. Don't worry about what it's showing. Don't worry about it. But, buttons highlight, and we can go back. And we can go to the editor page. It's broken. But, we can go back to the front page. So, we already did the impossible. We made it build and run. Now, the rest of the stuff is just... should be trivial. Yeah. Oh, by the way, don't click on things. You'll crash it. Users don't want to click things, do they? Or scroll down? Clicking is half the battle. Yeah. I mean, we're gonna have to write some keybinds to use the keyboard for all the things, but yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody's going to want to use the mouse. That might even be me. But what am I doing? I'm doing test-driven development, and we're in a green step, as evidenced by like the green border. We're trying to make this test pass, and we're allowed to commit heresy in order to make it pass. So maybe what we need is some heresy. I mean, what could go wrong? Okay. If I'm a wheel aggregator, this should be curve press amount. We've shown us to have the right press amount kind of as we exit the frame. Work demons could go wrong. Just ask Horus. I hear he was a big fan of test-driven heresy. Don't worry about it. War demons. They're not that tough. I could take them. So the problem right now is that we're saying what is the current press amount? If it's non-zero, something happened. But the current press amount right now is supposed to be 0 because someone has started and finished a scroll all in one frame. So, like, the mouse wheel is not in motion, effectively. Future problem is a phrase you use a lot, yeah. Hey, what has future me ever done for me? Why should I be good to them? Now, past me, that's a jerk. If I could, get revenge on them, that'd be great. But future me, I don't know them anything. Okay, the current press amount should be 0. It should be 0 because the scroll has finished. So we need a better way to detect there was scrolling things happening during the last frame. There will have been scrolling things happening last frame. In what cases? Why should we need to be called again? Is a 1 frame delay noticeable? I'm calling it frames in terms of like how they're processing things. So like each frame they do a batch of event handling. So maybe that event handling takes 2 seconds, and so there's gonna be lag. But it's really about the amount of work to do to be finished the frame. So if that makes sense. I think it's called frame because it's like game dev parlance, of which I am not a game dev, so it's fine. But it's really like their way of discretizing the event stream, drawing arbitrary boundaries between we've handled this chunk and we're gonna update all state to match that or to account for that, and then we'll get the next chunk of the event stream next frame. Maybe we could call them steps. right? The last step's total amount, and then returning the current frame's instantaneous amount, or whatever. You see, confusing. Almost as confusing as naming everything in the game loop think. Yeah, yeah. This used to just be called think. This used to be set press amount. Like, everything used to be overloaded in terms of the name, and just like total brain melt confusion. As if this isn't too bad. But yeah. But yeah, at the end of the day, like, we've already accrued all the press amounts. Why do we need to get a callback to set press amount to the cur press amount? What does scrolling down do for you in the context of a frame? It injects a sequence of events into like the batch to process. So there's a so we're interfacing with xlib. I don't know. I guess you like Go, but I don't know if you're a Linux guy. But we're using the X server because back then Wayland didn't exist, and so we're injecting like a X event for pointer down with button 4, because button 4 is wheel up. And then we inject event for button 4 up, and that gets shipped over to us. And so we see a down and an up with a press amount of 1 and 0. So basically, during the frame, the wheel aggregator will get called twice for set amount 1 and then set amount 0. And then it will be asked to think. And if we return true here, it will be asked to set press amount again with whatever we tell it. Figuring out that is happening has been painful, and I don't like it, but that's what's happening. And I'm just saying right now, like, why would we need to set press amount the thing? We've already... Oh. It's to update when things happened. Yeah. So part of the setting the press amount is noting when we've set the press amount. This MS is like the timestamp of the event. The MS passed in here is the timestamp associated with pumping the event loop, whereas the timestamp passed in here is like the raw native timestamp that the C++ code returned. To interface with xlib, we're calling into some C++ code from Go. Which may or may not be a good idea, but it is what it is right now. And we've been able to mostly make it work. Okay. If something happened this frame, return true final press amount, so that another aggregator set press amount happens. Now the reason we're not just going to call it is because there's other things going on that set press amount for other things. Like you can have like key dependencies, right? So like if you have a key, if you want to trap on like Control S for save, you have a virtual key and it like watches for what's going on with Control and what's going on with S. And if it sees stuff going on, it needs to get a call. Sorry, I should say if Control and S have stuff happening, we need to tell that thing that something happened. And the way we do that is with like basically a DAG of key dependencies. And so returning true here means that that like DAG can be respected without baking in the DAG to what the aggregator knows. Yeah. Okay. Although such a call won't change the press amount, it will update timestamps to match end of frame. And we just don't have access to what the... No, we do have access to what the end of frame is here. But anyways, yeah. Basically, this is handling key repeats. So if during one frame you're holding a button, it only puts one event fired on that button into the list of things to do when it processes the things that happened during that frame, right? I think so. Certainly, if you're holding a button, and we take forever to process that like GL frame, we'll want to account for how long the key was physically held down. And the way to do that is with this aggregator doing things like press sum plus equals how hard you were pressing the key. Okay, 1 or 0 for a lot of keys, but they want to do joysticks too. And then multiply that by the time span across which it was pressed. Yeah. But we don't need to. We don't need to. Okay, so for this aggregator, we don't need to update the timestamps, but for other things that are related to the key that's getting hit, we might need to. Oh my god, what a rat's nest. I don't think we could green the test, but we can look at what's going on. Okay. So if we take a step back again, the test we're running is using a driver, like a test driver. It sends a scroll. And we're seeing that key with index 302, which is mouse wheel up, got a press amount 0. To indicate like the release, but it also got a press amount 1 to indicate the start of the scroll. Now these are happening at the same time. So the sum won't get any addition. Where's the timestamp? That's what's happening. Our timestamps are too... Whether the timestamp is really coarse or not shouldn't break the logic, but our timestamps are really coarse because they did stupid clamping integer overflow crap in the C++ code, and I don't dare change it without having a test to prove that it's still not broken or not more broken. Alright, so before I forget, I'm going to write down why this is failing. This is failing to find a non-zero scroll because the timestamp of the press matches the timestamp of the release. Sorry, my phone is going off because I need to leave, but let me finish this thought. Okay, this is failing to find a non-zero scroll. If we're checking the press sum, the timestamp of the press matches the timestamp of the release, so we don't actually accumulate any amount. Time for you to go do something productive, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, leave me a follow or whatever, and I try to be live Monday to Friday, 9 till about 3 Eastern time or whatever. But yeah, and if you want to submit a PR, it's on GitHub. Bam. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. But yeah, so if we're checking the press sum, the timestamp of press and the timestamp of release are the same, so we don't actually accumulate anything. If we're checking the press amount, we've already released the key, so the instantaneous press amount is and should be okay. We need to for whatever reason, like, I'm not a hardware guy, but my mind is going, we need a latch. we need a latch to capture change in key in wheel state in the... Thanks for the follow, Mongo Studios. It was helpful to actually talk through stuff and explain things, so thank you. We need a latch to capture change in wheel state in the wheel aggregator and use that to indicate scroll. Okay. But yeah, I am gonna have to call it here. I will maybe get back online later today, but we'll see how things go. So yeah, today we greened CI, which was nice. I think the test that was failing is still gonna be flaky because it's at the end of the day it's still a timeout. But we at least cleaned up what files we do and don't version control, and so the test should be more reproducible. We also made heads or tails of what the wheel aggregator is doing and why we're seeing no real scroll events coming through. and it's got to do with the class was never tested with an entire interaction happening in one instant in time, and that is something that should be supported. Otherwise, our tests are gonna suck. And since we're doing TDD, we don't want our tests to suck, so we're gonna have to fix that. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you again next time.